Good Friday morning, everyone. Welcome back to Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day so far. And in today's weather forecast, we have an emergency update as we are going to be tracking a lot of powerful storms as we head into Christmas, which one of them is going to be occurring this weekend, which does look to bring the potential for a lot of freezing rain up there towards Iowa, which will be enough to cause power outages that will more than likely be on the isolated side of things, and as well as some down tree limbs. So we will be watching that as we get into tomorrow. And then we also will be tracking the potential for severe weather as we get into the beginning of next week, heading from the Southern Plains back up there into the lower Ohio Valley. And it is pretty unusual to see severe weather this time of year, so definitely get ready for that if you live anywhere from the Southern Plains all the way up to the lower Ohio Valley, as we will be tracking the potential for an elevated risk for severe weather. And then after that, this is something that still remains uncertain and that you should probably take with a grain of salt, but the GFS model also does want to show plowable snowfall across the Carolinas and as well as the coastal areas of the Carolinas, which would be even more unusual for this time of year, as they would typically usually see their first snowfall in December, but they would also not usually get this much snowfall. They would probably only get about an inch or two usually. So definitely get ready for all of that, but obviously take some of that with a grain of salt still, as models are likely to go back and forth between a lot of these things. But make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will keep you guys updated with the latest, as a lot of these storm systems are likely going to bring hazardous impacts. So make sure to subscribe so that way you guys don't miss out on any of those huge updates that I do on this channel. Don't forget to leave a like as well. Those help out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. You guys can leave anything down below, and I will get to those right after today's weather forecast. But let's first go ahead and talk about this first storm that we're going to be watching for. And this is going to be as we get into tomorrow, where we are going to be tracking freezing rain and snowfall on the northern side of that system, with even some pretty big areas of rainfall on the southern side of that system. And as that continues to move towards the east, that will continue to bring more freezing rain across the Great Lakes region as that gets into Michigan there. So if you live across Detroit up there towards Grand Rapids, you guys definitely need to be paying attention, as freezing rain does appear possible. While on the southern side of that system, mainly just looking at some rainfall, which we will be watching closely as we get into tomorrow. But that system does not look to bring anything in the way of severe weather, just some rain and maybe even a couple isolated booms of thunder. So definitely be watching for some heavier rainfall if you do live across the Ohio Valley all the way back down there into the Southern Plains. And here's how much freezing rain you can expect with that system. And as you guys can see, for much of the Great Lakes region, we are going to be watching for that potential of some freezing rain, with isolated spots potentially seeing around a tenth of an inch to maybe a quarter inch, especially Michigan, parts there of Iowa near Get Davenport, even up there into parts there of northeast Nebraska, and even parts there of the Appalachian Mountains into New England could even get some pretty good freezing rain. So like I said, this will be enough to cause isolated power outages, and as well as a couple of down tree limbs, especially where you see those dark purple colors could maybe indicate as high as a quarter inch. So make sure you are watching very closely, as this is going to be a huge concern. And then the next storm system that we're going to be watching for is going to be as we get into next week, because as you can see on Monday, December 16th, we are going to have a huge storm going from the Southern Plains back up there into the lower Ohio Valley, with maybe even a little bit of snowfall on the northern side of that system. We'll have to see how it plays out, but we're mainly going to be tracking the Ohio Valley all the way down there into the Southern Plains, as there does look to be that potential for severe weather because of how that storm was shaped up. We could could be seeing severe weather anywhere from the lower Ohio Valley all the way back down there into the Southern Plains, guys, where you see those bright purples, reds, and even those greens could maybe indicate a pretty good chance of rumbles of thunder and perhaps even some severe weather, as we will have plenty of CAPE around. Because as you can see with your latest CAPE values during the day on Monday, we will have plenty of CAPE to maybe support an elevated threat of severe weather across Texas, all the way up there into the lower Ohio Valley. And your CAPE does get a little bit less as you get far to the north, but we're still talking around 500 joules per kilogram for areas up there in the lower Ohio Valley. So definitely get ready for that as we get into Monday of next week, which will actually only be in about 4 days. So this is already looking very concerning as of right now, as we will even have enough moisture. Because as you can see with your moisture on Monday of next week, we will even have enough moisture to support severe weather, especially down there in Texas where you see those 60-degree dew points. Your moisture may get a little bit lower as you get up there into the lower Ohio Valley, but there will be times throughout the day where your moisture will increase. So definitely get ready for that if you do live across the Ohio Valley. And of course, we'll even have enough wind shear across both of those areas to even support a little bit of an elevated risk for tornadoes, as this will be enough wind shear to help get some of those cells rotating, as anywhere from 40 to 50 mile per hour wind shear in the lower part of the atmosphere is, like I said, going to be enough to really help those storms rotate and get their acts together. So definitely get ready for that, guys. I don't think this is going to be significant, but I definitely do think there's a chance that this does become a little bit of a problem as we get into the beginning of next week. So definitely be watching, like I said, but don't get too hyped up about this yet, because we still don't totally know if this is going to happen. And just to be honest with you, models can even go back and forth between a lot of things. Like sometimes they'll show severe weather across that area during the same day, but then they're like, I think there will actually be snowfall. So keep in mind that things could still change dramatically with the system. But as right now, though, this is looking very concerning as we are only heading a couple of days out. So definitely be prepared from the lower Ohio Valley to the Southern Plains, as some severe weather does appear possible. And then after that, we will be watching another storm system closely by the time we get into Thursday, which will be the very end of next week, as we will have a pretty big storm system ongoing across those coastal areas, and we'll even have a lot of cold air surging on in from right behind it, and that's going to bring a lot of cold temperatures, guys. We're talking temperatures in the negatives for Minnesota, back over there towards New England. We're even talking the 20s as far down south as the lower Ohio Valley. But you still could even see temperatures in the 30s. We could be seeing 30s across the Carolinas. Look at that. We could even maybe even see some 20s across the higher elevations of North Carolina and as well as Virginia. So I mean, this is just looking like a very strong cold front, guys. We definitely need to be prepared for more of these, as like I said, there's going to be frequent cold fronts all winter long. Now, that doesn't mean that we're going to see cold temperatures all winter long. That just means there's going to be times where we see dramatic drops in temperatures. That's going to pretty much be from warm air all the way down to colder temperatures. So definitely get ready for that, as there could definitely be some significant freezing temperatures, and this is definitely enough to even be considered frigid. And as that cold front rolls on through, our next small one that we're going to be watching for is going to be one of these clipper systems as we get into Saturday, December 21st, and that will be during the same time where we see that cold air surge on in, and that's first going to start across the lower Ohio Valley, as we do, have a small clipper system across that area, and that will continue to head southeastward towards the Carolinas, guys. this is not your typical snowstorm. We typically would usually see this more in January across the Carolinas, but instead it's during the month of December. And just look at that, guys. Heavy snowfall going across South Carolina and North Carolina, including the coastal areas of North Carolina. So definitely be watching very closely if you do live across the Carolinas. I don't think this will happen, as this is something, like I said, that we definitely don't usually see this time of year. Plus, the GFS model has also been going back and forth between which areas will see snowfall. So expect things to still change a lot, as things are still very far out. But it's definitely something, like I said, to watch very closely for, as the Carolinas may have their first snowfall sometime in December, which could very well be on December 22nd. And then after that, some of you guys are still asking, will we see a white Christmas? And the latest from the GFS model has changed dramatically once again, because if you guys are wondering how it played out, it first showed snowfall right over here towards Texas, and let me draw that a little bit better, but right over here towards the panhandle of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico. And then it showed snowfall in New England a few days ago as we get into Christmas, and now it's just showing a lot of warm air from the Gulf of Mexico surging on in, just bringing that risk for some rain. So that's something to watch closely for once again, as I just don't really want to give, any huge Christmas weather updates yet, as models are just going to continue to go back and forth between which areas will see snowfall. But like I said, though, it is definitely something to watch closely for, as the GFS model might point it out on a few of the model runs, especially as we head into the next few days. And then some of you guys are also probably curious on what we'll see after Christmas. And obviously take this with a grain of salt, but this does want to show a few big systems right after Christmas. And like I said, obviously take this with a grain of salt, but this is definitely something to watch very closely for too, as well, as we very well could see something like this even as we get into January. But like I said, this is far out, so obviously take this with a grain of salt. Let's now go ahead and look at your total snowfall, and as you guys can see, we are going to be watching a lot of snowfall across the higher elevations there across the western United States, especially the Cascades, Sierra Nevadas, and as well as the Rocky Mountains over there. We also could be seeing that potential for some snowfall over here, and what's wild, I don't believe this by the way, but what's wild though is that the GFS model does want to show a lot of snowfall across the coastal areas of North Carolina. And let's just quickly take a zoom in view about that, because look at that, guys. By the time we get near Christmas, we could be seeing a huge storm across the coastal areas of North Carolina. I just don't believe this at all, guys. The GFS model is crazy about what it shows. It just doesn't care, and it's just all of a sudden showing this. I don't think this is what's gonna happen, but I definitely do think we have to watch for this, as some areas might even experience 2 feet, especially where you see those blue colors right there. Like I said, I just don't believe this at all. The GFS model is so crazy on what it shows for weather, and like I said, it even goes back and forth between which areas will see snowfall and which areas will not. And this also isn't necessarily a nor'easter setup either, guys, because if we go back, like I said earlier, we're gonna have that little storm over there in North Carolina. But I don't understand why it would show around 2 feet, and I think I actually figured it out earlier. I think it's because the Atlantic water temperatures over here are still warm enough to help feed that snowstorm as it rolls on by, and that's why it's showing a lot of snowfall across the Carolinas, because that's like excuse me, sorry about that, but that's pretty much like ocean effect snowfall right there. So that's something to watch closely for, like I said, but obviously take that with a grain of salt. We will know better about it as we get into December 24th and as well near Christmas. But like I said, take that with a grain of salt still, as that is definitely not looking likely as right now. And then if we look at your total rainfall, as you guys can see, lots of rainfall likely for the Northeast and as well as the Ohio Valley. We also could maybe see a little bit there across the Northwest too as well. So even if you don't see snowfall, you definitely could be seeing a lot of rainfall as those storms that we were talking about earlier from the Ohio Valley into the Southern Plains could definitely even bring some pretty heavy rainfall. So we will be watching that very closely. So definitely get ready for that, as there will likely be chances for severe weather. But like I said, though, a lot of that is still remaining uncertain as of right now. So I probably would recommend taking a lot of this with a grain of salt. But like I said, though, it is still something to really watch closely for. And of course, we'll keep you guys updated with the latest. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy today's weather forecast. Make sure to subscribe to the channel, as we will have more huge updates like this, especially if the model continues to show chances for severe weather, freezing rain, and as well as unusual snowfall across the United States. So make sure to subscribe so that way you guys can stay up to date on all that stuff. Don't forget to leave a like as well. Those help out more than you know. And of course, leave any questions, comments, or concerns that you guys have down below. Feel free to leave anything down below, and I'll get to those in just a second. And I hope you guys all have a great weekend, and we will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.